How's it going, everybody? Cameron here with Canadian Gamer coming at you with another video. Now, I wanted to quickly give my thoughts. Well, quickly. We'll see how quickly this video is. I wanted to give my thoughts on Alan Wake Remastered. I finally wrapped things up on that game today, and I wanted to share my honest thoughts on the remastered version of this game, as well as leave it open to you guys if you want to comment below. We can have a discussion if any of you guys have played the remastered Alan Wake as well. So, yeah, a few things I want to talk about here. When this game was announced, I was one of the many that were just like, this looks like Remedy kind of dialed this one in. You know, is this a legitimate remaster? Or is this more like the Grand Theft Auto Definitive Edition, if you will? So, the thing is, I'll try not to be all over the map when I talk about this game here. Until you actually play the game and it's in front of your very own eyes on a 4K TV, it's hard to really give an opinion on this game. So I want to sort of explain a little bit about that as well. So before we delve into that, first impressions when you put the game in, if you had played the original on the 360 back in the day, you remember the opening cutscene. It kind of looks like a scene out of The Shining, where it's like a helicopter view going over like a forest, and it would say Microsoft Game Studios presents, because back in the day this was an exclusive game with Microsoft. Well, that's gone. So when that cutscene kicks on, it says Epic Games presents, and it's just really weird to see that. With me, when you think of Epic, immediately you think of like Gears of War. So yeah, that was kind of weird to see that. And then you get into the game, and again, if you played the original back in the day, and we'll talk about this a little bit more later on in the video, immediately you'll see the different visual stylings of the characters, their facial animations, if you will. A very different approach, especially to Alan Wake. And so we'll get into that in a few minutes. So with the game, this is the first game that I've played in the modern era where it gives you the option for performance mode, and or you can have, like, I guess it's what was it called? Performance or visual, graphics or performance, one or the other. I can't remember what it was called. You quickly realize when you put it on performance mode and you see what the game looks like at 60 frames per second. Wow. Talk about an eye-opening experience. When you go from 30 frames per second on this game to 60, and then you go back to 30, it looks like Alan Wake's trying to run underwater. It's absolutely horrible playing it at 30 frames per second. It's really blurry. This is just my opinion, but once I went to 60 frames per second, there was no way in hell I was going back to 30 frames per second. I oftentimes throughout the game, I would pause the game and I would flip it back over to 30 FPS to see if there was a difference in the visual enhancements, and I couldn't see it with my naked eye, honestly, guys. So I kept it pretty much at 60 FPS the whole way through. And, it kind of sucks that with modern games, we have to choose between graphical enhancements or performance enhancements. Especially on a game like this that's over 10 years old, you think it would have the capability of running at 60 FPS with the graphical enhancements, even on an Xbox One X, never mind the Series X or the PS5. But it is what it is. Apparently, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think on the new consoles, you can actually run it at 60 FPS with the graphic enhancements as well. I think you only have to choose between one or the other on the older consoles. I could be mistaken. Let's talk about graphics for a second. So, again, watching YouTube videos, looking at side-by-side comparisons, it's not all that apparent between the old Alan Wake and the remastered game until you actually play it, and you quickly realize This is legit. Most, if not all, but most of the textures in the game have been completely overhauled. We're talking about the pavement, the rocks when you're climbing up the mountain, enhancements to the water. It looks like they did tone down the fog in the game, and for some people that sort of breaks a bit of the immersion, and I totally get that. I don't know why they pulled back on some of the fog enhancements. It kind of reminds you of the Silent Hill 2 remaster on the what was it, the 360, the Silent Hill collection. But man, when you see Alan Wake running at 4K at 60 frames per second on a modern console, man, the game looks like a current gen game to me. It looks incredible. So this game looked incredible back in the day. It must have been obviously pushing the Xbox 360 to its limits. And one thing I could specifically remember with Alan Wake and a lot of those games on the 7th gen consoles was a lot of screen tear. So I remember Mafia 2 had a lot of screen tear. And Alan Wake had a lot of screen tear as well. So that's like when you move the camera and you can actually see like the screen, it's tearing up. It almost looks like when when you used to watch a VHS back in the day and you'd pause it and then the screen would freeze and there'd be lines on the screen. It looks like that. So for the most part, the screen tearing is absent or is pretty much gone in this game, but there are still areas where there's significant screen tearing to the point where I found myself every time I go into a new area, I'd sort of just stop playing and I'd move the camera around just to see if there was screen tearing. And I found it was more noticeable when you were in smaller enclosed areas. It was quite noticeable. So again, I don't understand why they couldn't eliminate the screen tearing. It's inexcusable, especially when you're playing this game on a somewhat modern console myself, an Xbox One X. You'd think they could get rid of the screen tearing, but maybe it's got to do with the old engine that they're using. So there was a lot of maybe not a lot of, but there were some complaints online that this remastered version of Alan Wake didn't take advantage of HDR. But it's my understanding Remedy and the team behind this remastered game didn't want to upgrade the engine, the in-game engine, and it would be too much of a burden to try to, I guess, incorporate HDR and dynamic lighting and all these other special trickeries and special effects of the modern era into this old engine. So that kind of brings me into the next thing. This game wasn't solely remastered by Remedy. They did absolutely outsource this to a team called, I think, D3T, if I'm not mistaken. I could be off on that. But yeah, they did outsource it. I don't know how much involvement Remedy had with the actual remastered game, but I have a feeling they didn't have a lot of input on it whatsoever, and I'll get to that as well. So, with regards to this remastered game, now that we've got the announcement that Alan Wake 2 is coming out, now I understand why this remastered came out, and I understand the timing involved as well. So it's my understanding Alan Wake 2 has been in development now for over 2 years, so they kept a tight lip on it. And then, this is just one man's opinion, but I have to bet that Remedy probably outsourced Alan Wake to this third-party developer to enhance this game probably a long time ago, maybe a year ago. And they probably told them, hey, listen, Alan Wake 2 is in development. We've incorporated some elements of Alan Wake into Control. We're starting to plant the seed in the consumer's head. There's a lot of gamers out there that maybe they were too young and they didn't play Alan Wake back in the day, or maybe they didn't have a 360 or a PC to play it. So, Remedy knows they're going to unveil Alan Wake 2 at the Game Awards, so it only makes sense for them to give a deadline for this third-party developer to finish the remastered version of Alan Wake about 2 months, or maybe further than that, maybe 4 or 5 months before the announcement of Alan Wake 2. That way they can launch Alan Wake Remastered about 2 months before the Game Awards to allow people to go out and maybe repurchase the game or buy it for the first time because, again, maybe they've never played it. So they get to play the game and, they get to dip their toe in the water, maybe fall in love with the game. And by the time they finish the game, because maybe it'll take someone a couple of weeks, right? Not everybody can beat a game in a day. They'll be like, gosh, I had a fantastic time playing Alan Wake. I played Control. I'm really immersed in this Alan Wake universe. And then all of a sudden, boom, the Game Awards hits and they unveil Alan Wake 2. So now it makes sense as to why this remastered version came out 2 months before the Game Awards. And now it makes sense why they remodeled Alan Wake in the game. Because, number one, they wanted to make it look like the actual guy who portrays Alan Wake. Whether or not they did a good job on that, the jury is out. But they obviously want Alan Wake in the remastered version of the game to look similar to how Alan Wake looked in Control. And they want people to sort of have this idea in their head of what Alan Wake looks like so they can plant the seed for the sequel that's coming out. So it all makes sense now. That being said, I wish, the company that remastered this game, although I think they did an incredible job, enhancing the world, the environments, I wish they would have kept the look of the characters the same. I don't think they necessarily enhanced it. There's people out there that are like, well, they had to enhance it because they enhanced the world around the characters, so the characters had to be upgraded. That's not true, because if you go back and look at the original character models, they don't necessarily look worse. Go back and look at it if you don't believe me. So, I'm just not crazy on it. For me, that's immersion breaking. That, because I played the original, when I played the remastered version, it bugged me the whole time, looking at all the characters, how they looked, the waitress in the diner. And again, Alan Wake looks, I don't know. The characters look like their eyeballs are detached from their retinas. But that being said, aside from the character animations, the actual assets have been so improved in the game. When you go into the diner again, as an example, there's way more stuff to look at when you walk in. They've put more assets into the game. Instead of seeing like a toaster and a coffee cup on the dining table, there might be like 5 coffee cups, 2 toasters, a different picture on the wall. There might be other stuff going on in the background. And same goes when you're out in the open world. The trees look more dense. Everything just looks way more polished. So like I said, it's not like the Grand Theft Auto Trilogy Definitive Edition. They didn't botch the assets. They didn't, tinker with the original design elements that Remedy had incorporated into the game. They improved it in a way where it looks really good, but it doesn't look like totally fucked up way out there. It just looks really good. This team did a real good job. And maybe that's why, they were working hand in hand with Remedy. Maybe Remedy was there to make sure that this team didn't go too far off the track. So, again, you wouldn't understand it unless you actually played it. That goes for me too. When I saw trailers for the remastered version of Alan Wake, I didn't know what to think of it until I actually played it. It looks so sharp. Gone are all the jagged edges. Absolutely incredible. They've managed to take out the product placement, so there's no longer Verizon wireless images on the billboards or Energizer on the battery packs. But it's funny because I actually kind of liked that product placement in the original game. I don't know why. It was like a product of its time. I just remember back in the day seeing that, and that sort of didn't feel out of place for some reason. I don't know why. That being said, all the original music is in the game, including Space Oddity by David Bowie. So it's cool that they were able to retain all the original music. Now, the big elephant in the room. This is something that a lot of the other reviewers didn't talk about. I suspect because they didn't take enough time to not only play through the game, but do what I did. I like to go off the beaten path because, as you know, with Alan Wake, if you've played it before, you can go along the set path, but you can actually branch. It's not completely open world, but you can walk off the beaten path. A lot of times when you do that, you can find special Easter eggs, treasure chests that have ammo, and you can find these blue coffee canisters as well. So when you do that, you do sort of see some things in this remastered game that may have been overlooked by the QA team. So the guy who reviewed Alan Wake Remastered from Digital Foundry, he did do a really good job. You can check his video out if you want. Now, he touched base on this in his video, but he didn't really go too far in on it. He mentions, because most of the game takes place at night, not all the time, but most of the time. You'd be walking through like the forest, and obviously all the trees, all the bushes have shadowing on them, obviously, right? So it's pretty dark, almost to the point where it's black. And he mentioned like you come across certain shrubs or weeds in the ground, and they were lit up like a Christmas tree. Like there was no shadow on these, assets at all. But so me playing the game, I did come across that in the game, but for me, it was only when you went off the beaten path and you went to like a far corner of the map or wherever you were running around in. So to me, it's like the QA team, they were probably more focused on, the direct path, A to B, and not so much venturing off the beaten path to make sure everything was shaded incorrectly. And it's just really bizarre because I get it. Maybe you miss things here or there at the beginning when the game is launched and then you patch it. But fuck, it's been 2 months. And this game, when I installed it, it's 3.8 gigabytes on the disc and 38 gigabyte patch, if you can believe it. I came into 2 instances, actually 3, but 2 that I got on video, and I'll show them here. I do apologize for the low res. I pulled these off of my Twitter feed, as well as all the images you're seeing today. These are images that I captured using my Xbox One X as I played through the game. I didn't pull these images off of Google. So there's this one part in the game, and you'll see it here, where you walk into a mill, like a windmill, I think. I'm not quite sure. And in this crate that you're seeing here, this is supposed to just sort of be standing there, but you can see it's stuck right in the staircase. It was stuck in there. I walked in. I'm like, I don't remember it supposed to be like this. And I tried to get around it. And next thing you know, my character died. I'm like, what the hell? Like Alan Wake just bounced off the screen. So then I restarted from the checkpoint, and this glitch was still there. So you can see it. It's like stuck in the stairwell, this wooden crate. So then I checked online, and apparently, like, this is like a crapshoot. It's like 50% of the time you'll either have this happen to you, or the other 50% of the time you'll walk into this area and it does not happen. And I restarted this checkpoint like 10 times, and I couldn't get this glitch to go away. The only way I was able to fix this, I had to restart the whole entire episode, which meant I had to go back and replay about a half hour worth of the game to get back to this windmill, to this mill. And I walked in, and thank God everything was the way it was supposed to be. So again, absolute bullshit. How can you miss this when you're testing the game? I don't understand it. And even if you did miss it, we're 2 months into it, and there's online forums dedicated to this glitch talking about how it exists. How has this not been patched yet? Good Lord. And then later on in the game, I tried to jump through some electricity, and my character got stuck between, I guess, 2 walls of electricity, and I couldn't get out, and I had to restart again. Luckily, I only had to go back to the last checkpoint. But as you can see, obviously, very frustrating indeed. I don't know if these glitches have to do with it being Alan Wake Remastered, or if these glitches were in the original game. I think they have to do with the game being remastered, if you want my honest opinion. I never ran into these issues before. So, as far as the game is concerned, I do enjoy this game a lot more than I guess remembered, because it's been probably 10 years since I originally played it. It's such a long game, and now that I've played back-to-back Max Payne, the original Max Payne, and then I've gone to Alan Wake, I think I actually like Alan Wake more than Max Payne, to be honest with you. It's a fantastic game. Once you get to episode 5, the gameplay elements start to wear thin a bit. Instead of shooting down the Taken, you've got objects flying at you like couches, tires, cars, and you have to dispose of these objects using your flashlight and your gun, and it just gets to be a little bit too convoluted. But other than that, it was a fantastic experience. The remastered version of this game does come with the 2 DLC downloadable content episodes, the Writer and the Signal. I haven't played through those yet. I'm going to do that next. There's a lot of people, myself included, that did gripe about why Alan Wake's American Nightmare was not included in this remastered package. Again, once you play through Alan Wake Remastered, you quickly understand why they didn't include Alan Wake's New Nightmare, because it would have been too much work to be able to overhaul all the assets in that game, as they are very much different from the original Alan Wake. It would have just been too much of an undertaking. Again, I'm telling you guys, if you're on the fence about it and you don't believe me, this isn't just a remastered game. They've overhauled a lot of the assets in the game, a lot of the textures. It's absolutely incredible. I cannot go back to the original Xbox 360 version of this game. Not after playing it at 60 FPS, at high resolution. It's absolutely incredible. You guys can tell just by looking at these pictures that I took using my Xbox. These are in-game screenshots you're seeing. This is gameplay, and it looks absolutely fucking incredible. So, yeah, it's a fantastic game. They did an excellent job with the remaster of this game. Do I wish they would have sort of left it in the oven a little bit more and worked out some of the bugs? Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully we'll get some more patches. Do I wish they would have left the character models alone? Yeah, I kind of like the original ones more, to be honest with you. There are also a lot of, odes to older Remedy games in this game as well. When you're in I almost said Max. When you're in Alan's apartment, he's got an award on his shelf for, winning an award for being a novelist. And it's got like two golden guns like this. So it's obviously, homage to Max Payne. And not only that, Sam Lake makes an appearance later on in the game. Actually, you're watching a TV episode in Alan's apartment, and it's kind of like a spoof of like David Letterman's Late Show. And you've got Alan Wake sitting on a couch talking to the host, and Sam Lake is sitting next to Alan Wake. So I thought that was pretty funny. And then also as well, when you're at the psychologist, his lodge out in the forest, and you go into one of the rooms, there's a poster for Death Rally, which was like the first game that Remedy ever released. So I thought that was kind of cool to see that. And there's also one point towards the end of the game. It's like a dream sequence when you're in Alan Wake's apartment. Again, this is the same scene where you're watching the David Letterman spoof. And Alan Wake, his eyes are hurting him. He feels like a vampire because of the sun, so he has to put a pair of glasses on. And he's like, I got to get my painkillers. So he runs to you run to the bathroom and get your painkillers. And that's got to be, an ode to Max Payne. It's got to be. So yeah, this video is getting a little bit long here. We're already at 25 minutes, but yeah, all I can say is I had a blast playing the remastered version of Alan Wake. Hardly any complaints at all. Oh, one more thing I want to mention. When you're playing the game, a lot of times when I pause my Xbox, I don't actually press the pause button. I actually press the Xbox button on the top of the controller. If you press that and you're in the middle of like a cutscene, and then you go back to the game, the cutscene is out of whack. It's out of sync. The audio will no longer be in sync with the cutscene. So the voices will be, the lips will be moving on the characters, but it won't be in sync with the audio. So again, another glitch. So yeah, rather unfortunate. And these are little things you wouldn't know or hear about unless you heard someone like myself who played the game through and through that can tell you about these little nuances. I didn't rush through the game in 10 hours and pump out a review. I took my time with it. And I know a lot of people don't watch my videos. I'm a smaller YouTube channel. But I always say the ones that do watch my channel are the ones that are going to benefit from these little things that I do mention with regards to this game. Now, one other thing too, forgot to mention, well, actually two other things. They added QR codes into the game, so you can walk up to your TV with your smartphone and take a picture of the QR code. And then from there, you can watch a video on Remedy's channel. And these are brand new Alan Wake videos. And it's got the guy who played Alan Wake, and his hair is a little bit different, kind of like in the trailer for Alan Wake 2. So it adds a little bit of enhancements to the story. And again, they're trying to segue into Alan Wake 2. And there's a new, because in the game, you're running around, you're collecting manuscripts, trying to piece together your novel. Well, they've added a new manuscript, a new page in the game, and it specifically references the game Control. So I'll leave it at that. You guys can check it out if you want. And yeah, so that's it for me. That's my quick little overview review of Alan Wake Remastered. And yeah, that's it for now. I guess maybe the next thing I'll do after I get done with the DLC for Alan Wake Remastered, I'll probably try to get into that Terminator game that I purchased for the Xbox One, and hopefully I can put up a review for that. So anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you were on the fence about this game, hopefully this helped out a little bit as well. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Have a good night.